Kevin Stefanski's dirty plan just got exposed, and Shedeur Sanders, yeah, the rookie everyone thought was sidelined with a back injury, just walked into Browns practice with the receipts. Cameras caught something the team never wanted fans to see, something that flips the entire Cleveland quarterback situation on its head. And now, the NFL world is demanding answers. Because what Shedeur showed up with? It wasn't just proof, it was evidence. Evidence that the Browns head coach has been playing a game behind the scenes, a game of politics, control, and fear. See, Shedeur wasn't even supposed to be there. He wasn't supposed to take reps, and he definitely wasn't supposed to bring proof that exposes what's really been going on inside the Browns facility. But he did. And this changes everything. You're about to see exactly how a single question, one line from a reporter at a press conference exposed a bigger secret than anyone realized. Because what Kevin Stefanski didn't say might just tell us more than what he did. And once you hear the full story, you'll understand why Browns fans are calling this the moment everything changed. It started with what should have been a simple question. A reporter looked Kevin Stefanski dead in the eye and asked, "Is Shedeur Sanders your QB2 this week?" That's it. Just one question. But the moment Stefanski opened his mouth, the entire room could feel something shift. He didn't say yes. He didn't say no. Instead, he went into full politician mode. He'll be limited today. We need to see how he responds. Obviously, he's pushing very hard in rehab. Wait, what? That's not an answer, that's a deflection. And if you listen closely, you can almost hear the gears turning in his head. Stefanski wasn't talking like a coach giving an update. He was talking like a man dodging accountability. Before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. You see, in the NFL, words matter. Every syllable from a head coach becomes headline material. And Stefanski knows that. So when he avoids giving a straight answer, it's not random, it's strategy. He's choosing his words carefully because he knows naming Shedeur QB2 changes everything. It changes the depth chart, it changes the locker room, and it puts pressure on his starter, Dylan Gabriel, the guy he's been defending all season long. So instead of clarity, Stefanski gave confusion. Instead of direction, he gave delay. And for the first time, it became clear, this wasn't just about an injury anymore. Because here's the thing, coaches don't talk like that unless there's something they're trying to hide. Stefanski didn't sound like a man giving a medical update. He sounded like someone protecting something. Or maybe someone. That one non-answer sparked a wildfire. Fans started asking questions. Analysts began dissecting every clip of that press conference. And when you put the pieces together, the pattern becomes obvious. Stefanski's trying to buy time. Why? Because once Shedeur's back on that field, all the excuses disappear. And deep down, Stefanski knows the moment that happens. The power balance in Cleveland changes forever. Now, on the surface, it looks simple. Shedeur's been out with a back injury, right? That's what we've been told for weeks. He's rehabbing, he's limited, he's working to get back. All the usual phrases you hear when a team wants to sound transparent but tell you absolutely nothing. But here's where things stop making sense. Kevin Stefanski himself said he's pushing very hard in rehab. That sounds like a player who's eager, motivated, and ready to get back out there. So if that's true, why is the team acting like they still don't know where he stands? Think about it. This isn't some mystery injury from the 1,980 seconds. The Browns have world-class doctors, trainers, and daily evaluations. They know exactly how healthy Shedeur is. They know what he can and can't do. So why all the uncertainty? Because keeping things uncertain gives Stefanski control. As long as Shedeur's status is vague, he doesn't have to make a decision. He doesn't have to name him QB2. He doesn't have to admit that the rookie might actually be ready to compete. This is the NFL version of keeping someone on hold. You don't say no, but you make sure they can't move forward either. And if you're a young quarterback like Shedeur Sanders, that's the worst place to be. But here's the part that makes this whole situation even more suspicious. Shedeur showed up to practice this week. Cameras caught it. He looked mobile, confident, loose, not like a player dealing with a major back issue. And yet, somehow, he's still limited. That's not injury management, that's image management. Because the moment Stefanski clears Shedeur to fully practice, the pressure shifts. Every throw, every rep becomes a question. Why isn't he the backup? Why isn't he getting a shot? And that's exactly what the Browns coaching staff doesn't want. They can control the narrative as long as Shedeur's not ready. But once he is, they lose that control and the truth becomes impossible to hide. Let's be honest, this isn't about Shedeur Sanders back anymore. It's about fear. Fear of what happens when he finally gets his shot. The Browns are sitting at a disappointing record. The offense looks lost, and the pressure inside that building is at an all-time high. Kevin Stefanski's job? Hanging by a thread. The front office? Growing impatient. And the fans? They're starting to turn. Dylan Gabriel was supposed to be the answer, the NFL-ready guy with experience, accuracy, and poise. But 8 games in, reality hit hard. The offense is inconsistent, the passing attack is flat, and the team can't find any rhythm. Every Sunday, it feels like the Browns are searching for an identity that just isn't there. And that's where Shedeur becomes dangerous. Not because he's a problem, but because he might be the solution. Think about it from Stefanski's perspective. If Shedeur steps on the field and performs even just flashes that natural poise and arm talent he showed in college, everything changes overnight. Fans start chanting his name, the media starts asking questions. And suddenly, the focus shifts from, can the Browns fix their offense? To, why wasn't Shedeur playing sooner? That's a nightmare scenario for any head coach on the hot seat. Because when your rookie shines, it makes everyone wonder what you were waiting for. It makes your decision-making look political. And when you're fighting to keep your job, perception matters almost as much as results. So instead of embracing competition, Stefanski is avoiding it. Instead of letting the best man earn the job, he's hiding behind injury updates and day-by-day evaluations. It's not caution, it's control. It's a strategic stall to keep the locker room calm and the spotlight off his struggling offense. But here's the thing about fear. You can't hide it forever. Every vague answer, every cautious word, it's all adding up. And if the Browns lose another game while Shedeur's stuck on the sideline, that fear Stefanski's trying to contain, it's going to explode. If you go back and really listen to that press conference, it's almost chilling. Every word, every pause, every careful deflection from Kevin Stefanski feels rehearsed, like a man trying to tell one story while hiding another. It wasn't what he said that caught people's attention. It was what he didn't say. When asked directly about Shedeur Sanders' status, Stefanski didn't give the usual coach answer. No, he's progressing well. No, we'll see him soon. Nothing that gave fans hope. Instead, he said, he'll be limited today. We'll need to see how he responds. On the surface, that sounds harmless, maybe even routine. But look closer. That's the exact kind of vague, non-committal language coaches use when they're trying to bury a decision. Because once you say something definitive, once you admit Shedeur is ready, you lose your ability to control the narrative. And that's exactly what Stefanski is fighting to keep. Control. You could almost see it in his body language. The tight smile, the crossed arms, the way he looked down at his notes instead of the reporters, all signs of a coach under pressure. He wasn't confident, he was cautious. Every word was like a step through a minefield. Then came the follow-up questions. One reporter asked if Shedeur was still QB, 2 behind Dylan Gabriel. Stefanski dodged again, switching topics to Gabriel's growth, the offense needing to play better as a whole. It's a classic misdirection move. Shift the spotlight away from the controversy before anyone can dig deeper. But here's where the clues start stacking up. When asked about the new offensive play-calling duties, a major shift after weeks of poor performance, Stefanski said he wanted Tommy Rees, the new play caller, to have final say on the call sheet. Sounds like a normal adjustment, right? But listen again. I get final say. There it is. That tiny sentence buried at the end reveals the truth. He's not giving up control. He's tightening his grip because if Shedeur Sanders gets more reps, that's a change in control. If Tommy Rees calls plays that better fit Shedeur's strengths, that's a change in control. And Stefanski can't afford that, not now, not with his job on the line. Every vague injury update, every carefully worded response, it's all part of the same pattern. Keep things just unclear enough that no one can hold you accountable. But here's the problem. Fans aren't stupid. They can see the inconsistency. They can hear the tone shift when Shedeur's name comes up. And now, after weeks of limited practice excuses, the press conference only confirmed what many already suspected: something's being hidden. The question is no longer if Stefanski's hiding something. It's why. And more importantly, how much longer can he keep it buried before the truth bursts out? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Nobody inside the Browns facility wants to admit Shedeur Sanders isn't being held back because he's not ready. He's being held back because he might be too ready. See, in the NFL, quarterback rooms aren't just about talent. They're about hierarchy, politics, and power. And right now, Kevin Stefanski and his staff are fighting to protect all three. When you're a head coach under pressure, every decision feels like a chess move. Do you stick with your struggling starter and hope he figures it out? Or do you hand the keys to a rookie who could either save your season or blow up your career overnight? It's a no-win situation, and Stefanski knows it. Because if he rolls the dice on Shedeur and the rookie lights it up, fans go wild. The locker room shifts. The players start to believe in the new guy, not the system or the coach. Suddenly, the story isn't about Kevin Stefanski fixing the offense, it's about Shedeur Sanders taking over the Browns. And that's not just a headline. That's a threat. But if Stefanski keeps Shedeur on the sideline, he buys himself time. He can keep saying things like, "We're evaluating," or "We want to be cautious with his recovery." That language gives him cover, a shield against accountability. Because as long as Shedeur's limited, Stefanski doesn't have to make the tough call. And make no mistake, that's not about health. That's about survival. This coaching staff is already on thin ice. The offense is predictable, the defense is gassed, the fans are restless. The moment Shedeur enters that huddle and makes plays, the narrative changes. The spotlight shifts. And people stop asking about play calling and start asking about leadership. Imagine being Stefanski. You've spent months crafting a plan around Dylan Gabriel, your handpicked guy. Then the rookie you've been sidelining steps in, and suddenly the offense looks alive. Every reporter in Cleveland would ask the same question. If Shedeur was this good, why wasn't he playing sooner? And that question, that's the one that ends coaching tenures. That's why they're holding him back. Not because he's unready, but because his success could expose every bad decision this staff has made all season. It's the same story we've seen time and time again in the NFL. When a young quarterback threatens the established order, coaches get nervous. And instead of letting the competition play out, they hide behind excuses. But what happens when those excuses run out? What happens when Shedeur finally gets his shot and proves that everything they were trying to protect was never worth protecting in the first place? That's the moment this whole house of cards comes crashing down. Here's the wildest twist in this whole story. The more Kevin Stefanski tries to control the situation, the more he's losing it. Every vague answer, every cautious phrase, every "we'll see how he responds," it's all backfiring. Because instead of burying Shedeur Sanders, he's turning him into a legend before he even steps back on the field. Think about it. Every time Stefanski dodges a question, fans talk about Shedeur. Every time the Browns' offense struggles, social media fills with one question: where's Shedeur? He's become the mystery, the spark of hope the player fans believe could save this team. And the craziest part? He's done all of it without saying a single word. No interviews, no complaining, no cryptic posts online. Just quiet work, steady rehab, and patience. The kind of professionalism that stands out even louder than a touchdown pass. That silence? It's power. Because when a player stays quiet while the system around him looks broken, fans fill in the blanks themselves. They start imagining what Shedeur could do differently. They picture him making the throws Dylan Gabriel keeps missing. They imagine him walking into the huddle, calm and confident, ready to prove every doubter wrong. And now, Stefanski's control has turned into a spotlight he can't turn off. By keeping Shedeur in the shadows, he's made him the most talked about name in Cleveland. The kid's not just a rookie quarterback anymore, he's a symbol of everything fans want this team to become. Strong, composed, fearless. It's poetic, really. The very thing Stefanski was trying to prevent, a quarterback controversy, is exactly what he created. And it's growing by the day. Every press conference where he avoids naming a QB2, more fuel. Every time Dylan Gabriel throws another interception, more pressure. Every time Shedeur's spotted at practice, even just tossing a ball on the sideline, boom, another viral clip, another wave of speculation. You can't buy that kind of anticipation. And you definitely can't control it. Stefanski wanted to manage perception. Instead, he's built a myth. Now, Shedeur isn't just a player returning from injury. He's the hero waiting in the wings, the guy everyone believes will walk in and save the season. And when that kind of momentum builds, it's unstoppable. Because once the fans fall in love with the idea of you, all you have to do is show up and prove them right. And something tells me when Shedeur finally gets that chance, he's going to make every second of it count. So now, the Browns find themselves standing on the edge of a storm they created. Because the longer Kevin Stefanski avoids the Shedeur question, the louder that question becomes. And time is running out. Cleveland's sitting at 3-5, a record that screams underperforming. They're heading into a stretch of must-win games, starting with the Jets. And everyone knows what that defense does best: pressure the quarterback. If Dylan Gabriel walks into that matchup and stumbles again, the narrative collapses overnight. Every fan, every analyst, every camera in that stadium will be locked on the sideline waiting for a glimpse of number 14 warming up his arm. Because the moment the offense sputters, the chants start. Shedeur, Shedeur. And when that sound echoes through Cleveland Browns Stadium, there's no controlling it anymore. That's when the politics stop and the reality begins. And here's what makes this situation so dangerous for Stefanski and his staff: they're out of excuses. The injury cover only lasts so long. You can't keep saying limited when the guy looks perfectly fine jogging, throwing, and smiling at practice. You can't keep talking about reevaluation when fans have seen enough to know he's ready. At some point, it's not a health issue, it's a leadership issue. And leadership is what's being tested right now in Cleveland. Because make no mistake, Jimmy Haslam is watching. The same owner who's fired coaches for far less drama has to be asking himself, are we protecting the team or protecting egos? That's the question Stefanski can't afford to face, but it's coming fast. If Dylan Gabriel crashes against the Jets, the pressure will be unbearable. And if the Browns lose again, dropping further out of playoff contention, the fans will demand change. Not next week, not after the bye. Now. And that's when everything shifts. Because the Browns won't just be fighting for wins anymore, they'll be fighting for their identity. Will they double down on a struggling starter to protect the status quo? Or will they finally unleash the rookie who's been waiting, watching, and preparing for this exact moment? Either way, once that decision is made, there's no going back. If Shedeur steps in and shines, the city will crown him the future. If Stefanski keeps him hidden and the losses keep piling up, the coach becomes the villain. That's the reality of the NFL. Perception is power. And right now, the power isn't in Stefanski's hands anymore, it's in Shedeur's. He doesn't even have to throw a pass to change the direction of this franchise. All he has to do is be ready when his moment finally comes. There's a saying in football, you can't hide greatness forever. And right now, that's exactly what's happening in Cleveland. Kevin Stefanski thinks he's controlling the situation that by keeping things vague, by saying limited, by buying himself just one more week, he's protecting his team. But the truth? He's not protecting the team. He's protecting himself. Because when Shedeur Sanders finally gets his shot, everything changes. This isn't some rookie trying to prove he belongs. This is a young quarterback who's been under pressure since day one, the son of a Hall of Famer, the face of an entire movement in college football, and now the player caught in the middle of one of the NFL's most politically charged locker rooms. He's been doubted before, he's been questioned before, and every single time, he's answered the only way he knows how, with work. That's what makes this story so powerful. Because while the Browns coaching staff hides behind injuries and evaluations, Shedeur's not saying a word. He's not posting cryptic tweets. He's not leaking frustration to the media. He's just showing up early, focused, and ready. That's what terrifies them. Not the arm, not the potential. The discipline, because when a player stays quiet in a loud world, people pay attention. And here's the truth. The Browns can only play this game for so long. If Dylan Gabriel keeps struggling, if the offense keeps collapsing, and if the losses keep stacking up, the walls close in. The media will push harder. The fan base will erupt louder. And Jimmy Haslam won't wait for another evaluation period. Eventually, the decision gets taken out of Stefanski's hands. Eventually, Shedeur's moment comes. And when it does, everything they tried to hide, every excuse, every delay, every vague answer gets exposed for what it really was: fear. Because Shedeur Sanders doesn't just represent a quarterback change. He represents a new direction, a chance for Cleveland to stop being cautious and start being bold. And that's the irony of all of this. In trying to protect his job, Kevin Stefanski might have just set the stage for the very thing that ends it. Because when Shedeur finally takes that field, when he finally gets the reps he's earned, there's no going back. If he succeeds, the city erupts. If he struggles, at least they know the truth. Either way, the waiting game ends. So here's the question. Was all this about caution or control? Was Stefanski protecting Shedeur from himself or protecting himself from Shedeur? Because one thing's for sure, you can't keep a quarterback like this in the shadows forever. Eventually, talent breaks through the politics. Eventually, truth breaks through the silence. And when that day comes, when Shedeur Sanders finally steps under center, all those quiet weeks of limited practice will feel like ancient history. Because the moment the ball leaves his hands, the entire city of Cleveland will know the future just arrived.